So today we're going to talk about lesson 14, module 2, and we're going to look at how we can convert measurements, part 2. So yesterday we talked about converting measurements where you were going from, let's say, 12 feet equals how many inches. So we talked about how the conversion steps are always step 1, find your conversion factor. So I'm looking for inches and feet. My conversion factor is that there are 12 inches in 1 foot. And then I need to decide, am I going to multiply or divide? Well, when I'm going from feet to inches, my feet is a bigger unit than my inches, which means that for each foot, if this is 1 foot, it's worth 12 inches. So I'm going to multiply when I go from my big unit to my small unit. So we're going to go 12 times 12, because 12 is my conversion factor, to figure out that I need 144 inches. Now, that's when we went from a big unit to a small unit. So we went from feet to inches. Today, we're going to flip that around and go from inches to feet. So if we use this exact same situation, because we already know the conversion factor, and say I have 36 inches, and I want to know how many feet that is, my conversion factor is still the same. It's 12 inches is 1 foot. Now I'm thinking, okay, I'm going from inches to feet. Inches is a smaller unit than feet. And I know that there are 12 inches in every foot. So when I build these up, I'm going to put 12 of them together, and I'll be able to make 1 foot out of that. So when I'm going from a small unit to a big unit, instead of multiplying, I'm going to divide. So 36 divided by 12, because 12 is my conversion factor. 36 divided by 12, I know is 3, so it's 3 feet. We know it's divided by because we're going from a small unit to a big unit. I can take 36 inches and put them into different groups of 12. Right? I'm grouping them together, and this is division. So I'm taking my 36 and I'm breaking it apart and putting it into smaller groups of feet, and each one of these feet is worth 12, so I end up with 3 feet. So whenever you're going from a smaller unit to a big unit, we're going to divide. When you went from a bigger unit to a smaller unit is when you multiplied. So let's practice that with tonight's homework. We're going to skip the first couple problems because instead of dividing, they're having you multiply by a fraction. And when you multiply by a fraction, it's the same thing as dividing, but the lines can get a little confusing. So let's just jump right here to F. F says convert milliliters to liters. So step 1 is to find our conversion factor. And I can think back to my place value chart with my measurement conversion to remember that there is 1,000 milliliters in 1 liter. If I don't know that, I can look that up using my place value chart or using my planner. But there's 1,000 milliliters in a liter. That is my conversion factor. And step 1 is to always find the conversion factor. Step 2 is to decide, when I'm going from milliliters to liters, what operation am I going to do? Am I going to multiply this or am I going to divide this? Well, when I look at milliliters and liters, I know that milliliters is smaller than liters. Milliliters are really, really tiny. There's 1,000 of them that can go into 1 liter. So I'm going to be putting these milliliters into groups of liters. And by putting them into groups, that means I'm going to divide. So I'm going from a small unit to a big unit. I'm going to divide. So my equation is 205 divided by 1,000. Now I can use my place value chart for this step because I'm dividing by a base 10, which is very handy. I will draw a quick one out because I don't have my whiteboard. Dividing by 1,000 means I'm going to move it 1, 2, 3 digits to the right. So 1, 2, 3. So we get 0.205 or 205 thousandths, and the unit is liters. And it makes sense. I have 205 small little liters, so it makes sense that my number is going to be smaller because a liter is bigger. Let's look at problem 2 now and do a non-metric conversion. So it says a jug of juice holds 8 cups. Convert 8 cups into pints. So I have 8 cups, and they want to know how many pints that is. Well, step 1 is to always find my conversion factor, cups and pints. This is from 3rd grade. If you don't know cups and pints, I always like to draw gallon land, where there are 4 queens in gallon land. Each queen has 2 princes, which are my pints, and each prince has 2 crowns, one for day and one for night, just like every prince would have. So the C's represent cups, the P's represent pints, the Q's are quarts, and the G is a gallon. So I did 2 cups in every pint, so that means 2 cups equals 1 pint. So that's my conversion factor. We'll draw this bigger in class later. 2 cups equals 1 pint. Okay, so step 1, conversion factor. Step 2, what operation am I going to do to go from cups to pints? Well, cups is smaller than a pint. So when I go from a smaller unit to a bigger unit, because I'm going to put them in groups, I'm going to divide. So 8 divided by 2 gives me 4 pints. So step 1, find your conversion factor. Step 2, label your units, which one is bigger and which one is smaller. And then step 3, find your operation before you actually do your equation. Let's look at our last one is F. The distance was 372,060 meters. Convert the distance to kilometers. Okay, so let's write the equation. 372,060 meters equals how many kilometers? I need to figure out my conversion factor. And again, this is a metric conversion. So we can think about our conversion chart when we're figuring this out. If you don't have your conversion chart, then you can look it up to figure this out. And there are 1,000 meters in 1 kilometer. So that's our conversion factor. Now we need to figure out which one is bigger, meters or kilometers. Well, meters is smaller than kilometers. So when I'm going from a small unit to a big unit, I'm going to divide. So I'm going to do 72,060 divided by 1,000, which again, using your place value chart, this is what you should use your place value chart. 0, 6, 0, 2, 7, 3. I'm going to move everything 3 digits, 3 places to the right because of my 3 zeros. 1, 2, 3. So 0, 6, decimal, 0. Oops, 1. Oh, I counted the decimal place. Let's retry. 0, 0, 2, 7, 3. So our answer is 372.060, and that 0 is superfluous. So it's 372.06 kilometers, which makes sense because we're going from meters to kilometers. So we're going from a smaller unit to a larger unit, and so our answer should be smaller. So review of our quick steps. We found our conversion factor. We figured out which direction we're going in, which one's smaller, which one's bigger. And then we've realized that when we go from a smaller unit to a bigger unit is when we're going to divide, and we're going to divide to get our answer.